But we are in for a real treat. Next guest speaker I met a few years ago. In fact, I was running a masterclass on about how to speak and present better. Quite ironic, really, because he's back here today speaking to you. And he was just leaving school, he was doing his GCSEs at the time. And he didn't have a business idea, but he was passionate, and he spoke with passion. And I've stayed in touch with him, and you heard him earlier on our panel. And now he did create and start a business which is building and becoming super successful. We're going to pick up lots of tips from this individual about how to look after ourselves and better well-being, maybe not just the body but the mind as well. So please give a warm welcome to our next guest speaker, Luke Morton.
Thank you. So I'd like to start with a simple question. Could you please raise your hand if you currently own a business? Raise your hand. Great, most of you. And could you raise your hand again if you'd like to take your business to the next level? Raise your hand. Great. So, where are you right now? Thank you. You might be over here. Because would I be right in thinking that you're here today because, like I said, you want to take things to the next level? If you had all the answers, you'd done it all, you wouldn't be in search of more answers. I'll tell you an interesting story, because this subject I'm going to talk to you about today is the most important subject there is. And there's a reason why I called this talk Your Health in Your Hands, because it really is. An interesting story from earlier this year. I was in hospital, surrounded by people from different walks of life. Young people, old people. A young man crying in the middle of the night because he'd been rushed in, he just had a heart attack. And I thought, strong man, young man, and he's crying because it reminded me of a simple quote, that a healthy person has all the dreams in the world, aspirations, goals, wishes. But in that moment, I realised that an unhealthy person just has one, and that's to be well, to be healthy. So everything you've heard today is irrelevant if you don't have your health. You might be here right now, I'm going to speak truthfully, you might be overweight. You might be riddled with a certain condition. You might know someone. Let's be honest, we all know somebody that's fall victim to a certain disease, someone close to us that's died prematurely. And the whole reason I want to take you from this place here today, in this short 20 minutes I've got, I'm going to have to rush through it very quickly, is that I live by this philosophy, which is, next one, if you feel better, you'll do better. If you have more energy, because that's really where it's at. If you want to get to over here, wherever that is for you, you might just want to do a little bit better. You might just want to, you don't want to conquer the world necessarily, but you do want to take things to the next level because you wouldn't be sat here right now. And I have to say, I've said this many times before, that majority of success, 80-90% of success, is showing up. And you're here today. Think about the people who bought a ticket and haven't turned up. So I have to commend you for being here. Now, it has been said that 85% of disease is actually lifestyle, which means that we're in control most of it, and we can do something about it. And through the power of juicing, I think you might be introduced to something that could quite change your life, because that's why I'm standing here. It changed my life. I'll take you back to October 2017. It was a day not too dissimilar to this, a lot colder, and I was woken by my dad, who's here today at the back in the green top, and he knocked on the door and he said, "Come on, Luke, need to get going." Teenage kid, rolled over, I don't want to go, but I thought, I must go because we paid money to go and see this Tony Robbins guy, larger than life character, let's go. So we go to the London Excel Centre, big talk, National Achievers Congress. Anybody heard of Eddie the Eagle? If you raise your hand if you heard of Eddie the Eagle, the Olympic athlete. Very inspirational. And then there was one last speaker to go. You can imagine being 16, 17 years old. I was like, "Can we go now, Dad?" And I looked at him and I said, "I'm not going to listen to this nutrition rubbish." And he was like, "Give it 5 minutes." So they announced on the tannoy, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Mr. Jason Val, the Juice Master." and everybody's clapping, and I kid you not, 1 hour later, I was up on the chair, dancing to Grease Lightning, and the rest was history. And all I can tell you is I went away from that talk, went and bought a little Argos juicer and put it on my kitchen side, but unfortunately I was going off to Venice next few days with family. And all I could think about was not enjoying that pizza or pasta, or going in the swimming pool and enjoying the hotel, was getting back and starting to juice some ginger, some fruits and vegetables. But it was one picture in particular that got my attention, and I'm going to show it to you now, because I was somebody that was always drinking this stuff, Diet Coke, and I was drinking this multiple times a day, multiple times a week. And I thought to myself, hand on heart, I thought, if I keep drinking this, I'm going to end up like that. They say one of the biggest causes of disease and death is obesity, and I thought this cannot continue. So what did I do? I went on to study the subject. I went on to read about it. I learned from the man himself, Mr. Jason Bell, the juice master. I also travelled the world. I've worked with athletes, celebrities, young people, old people to help improve their sports performance, school performance. I've gone on to do virtual masterclasses, in-person masterclasses. But I wanted to put something out there today that I've not talked about publicly before. I've done it on live videos, things like that. These little energy truffle balls. It was lockdown 2021, and I was making these little energy truffle balls just myself as a healthy snack. Got it from a recipe book. And my dad said to me, "Do you know what, you should sell these." And I said, "Well, I could, couldn't I?" And he said, "Well, why don't you give some free samples out to some of the gym members?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." So I went around like Santa Claus, going around all the houses, delivering some free samples, and everyone loved them. And it got me thinking, and this is probably the first business point you might want to write down, because like I said, for all the complicated stuff and overwhelming stuff you're going to hear today, this is probably the first lesson I learned in business, is that people talk about the need to diversify and do different things, have a different product range. And Jason Bauer, who's now gone on to become a friend of mine, gave me this business advice. If I said to you here, someone shout out the answer, if I said to you, what does Starbucks do? The answer would be coffee. That's what they're known for. But let's be honest, they also do other things as well. They do a whole host of different food products, merchandising, they're a global brand. But they started out as coffee, and they're still known for coffee. And I started out with little energy balls. But then I progressed that, and I developed a product range. I started with a little ginger shot, and then beetroot shot. If you've got high blood pressure, or even low blood pressure, if you're fatigued all the time, it's probably because you're deficient. Some of the things that were said in that talk that day, he said to me things like, well, saying to the audience, he said to me personally as well, you have to remove the toxicity and you have to replace the deficiencies. And I don't just mean what you put into your body, I mean what you put in here as well. Some of the social media, some of the negative news that you're constantly immersed in, and it's a hard habit to break, like constantly going on your phone, we know that. That's why I've travelled the world and gone on retreats and surrounded myself with like-minded people. I've just lived and breathed this. I've not just studied it intellectually, and I've seen the impact it can have, not just for me, but for others as well. The incredible weight loss, and people say, well, it's not going to last, is it? And that's why today I'm going to talk to you about your psychology and your mindset. And my story is still being written, and I'm a young guy, and I've learnt from some of the very best in the world. And take it from them, if anything. So like I said, this led to what I do today, one of my core products, the little super shots. Whether that's ginger, whether that's beetroot, wheatgrass, turmeric or spirulina, one of the big things I can advocate to you is, can you have a shot or a juice a day? Because we've all heard of the saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. What it really is if you can have a juice that's got 5 to 10 portions in every single day, you're going to be winning. Because I did a talk last year called Revive to Thrive with my dad, and we talked about this idea that most people in life simply just survive. They just get along. And you want to go from a place over there of just surviving to absolutely thriving in your business, in your health. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking, young business guy, what has he done in terms of business? I'm actually a broadcaster by trade, so I studied 3 years at Wembley Stadium to become a sports broadcaster. And my ultimate dream is to become a TV sports presenter. But I realise that will take time. But I flash up this person here. Can you put your hand up if you've heard of the guy called Sam Ryder, the singer, was on Eurovision Song Contest? Something you might not know is he's actually from the town of Coggeshall. and he ran a juice bar for many years in Coggeshall with his girlfriend. But he had this dream. I can't remember what the girlfriend's dream was, but he had a dream of becoming an international singer superstar. Think Ollie Murs as well from Whittam. They had that dream. But they learnt something which my dad has always taught me, which is start a business. Because you'll learn the foundational skills. So what I'm saying to you, no matter where you are right now, it's never too late. That's what I've always learnt. I've got dreams when I was 15 years old, and now I'm 10 years later, that I've still not fulfilled. One of my childhood dreams was to become a professional goalkeeper. But now it's changing to wanting to become a professional sports presenter. So if Sam Ryder could do it, maybe you could do it. 2 things this talk is based on. Most people out there are overfed and undernourished, which means you're eating a lot of stuff. You're having a lot of different foods every single day, but you're not getting what you nutritionally need, the vitamins, the minerals, the enzymes, the phytonutrients that are going to support you and help you function at your best. And then probably the biggest business lesson that I've learned in the last 6 years. And this is timeless. For all the things we're going to talk about today, that things change, things like AI, the different trends, some things are timeless. And if you're out there to make money, I've met so many people out there who I went to school with, university with, and there's advice out there to say, you know what, and this might be what you do, and I'm not knocking it, but I think the number one thing you need to be doing is doing something you're passionate about. And this came from none other than Jason Bow himself. He said this to me one-on-one in a juice retreat in Portugal, and he said, make a difference first, make your money later, or the money will follow. You make enough big enough impact on people, you bring enough value to them, that's what's going to change the game for you. So in terms of the juicing, you're probably thinking, well, I've got these little juices out here, the little shots, and you're thinking, I get it, Luke, but why don't I just eat it? And I've had this question from many people, all shapes and sizes, and I would say to them, well, I can understand the question, but you clearly don't, because otherwise you wouldn't have all these problems and issues. So we need to find another way. If you can't eat it, can you drink it? Because I struggled with vegetables so badly, I was told by a doctor, you need to be getting more fruits and vegetables in your system. And I wasn't. But you can do that through juicing. But there's a lot of misinformation out there that you might not realise. So if you've got, I did notes earlier on my phone, you might not have a notepad, but if you've got a notepad or a phone right now, I'd like you to write down the Juicy Lifestyle Formula. This is a system I put together. I put it together myself, and it puts together some of the core principles I've learned when it comes to mindset and your health. Some of these distinctions might make you see things in a different way. Because I've come to believe this, that I call it the Juicy Lifestyle Formula because this isn't something you just do today or tomorrow, it's something you do for life. And we've all heard of that saying, dog isn't just for Christmas, it's for life. And you know that in business to be true. You don't apply the basics, you don't do the principles, things don't work. So I'd like you to write down on the side of your page 5 F's. And this is going to form the 5 things that I believe are the most important thing when it comes to not just your health, your business as well. So the first F, why is this important? Because without this, you're going to fall victim to hard times. You might start a juice cleanse and someone criticises you, or the naysayers, and they say, you don't want to be doing that, it's unsafe. Or you're a young person, you might remember when you started the business and people try and put you down. But why did you not stop? Why did you continue? Well, I would suggest that just like some of the tallest buildings in the world, why can they withstand some of the most horrendous weather conditions, withstand some of the most crazy temperatures, all these sort of things, and still keep standing? It's a metaphor. But why? Because of strong foundations. So that's your first F. And I'll tell you what I really mean by having the right foundation psychologically. Think about it like this. If you were a smoker, say I went to someone who was a smoker, and they'd been smoking all their life, and I went up to them and I said, you know what, you need to stop smoking because it's really bad for you and you'll die early and you'll get cancer. I would be part of what I call the state the obvious brigade, which means we all know this to be true. Every single one of this person right now knows that smoking is bad for you, but that's not enough to change. But say that person was a parent, and I saw this earlier on that a lot of people are parents in here. Imagine they had a 5-year-old kid. son or daughter came up to them and said, "Mummy, Daddy, I heard that smoking's really bad for you, and if you keep smoking like the way you do all the time, then you're going to die early and you won't be there for my wedding." So can you imagine what that might do to someone? Because that becomes reason number one why you must change. What I really mean by foundation is having a clear goal that actually moves you. This is probably the biggest part of this system. People all the time come to me and say, "What about this, what about that?" The UK government would say that you need to be getting 5 portions of fruits and vegetables every single day. But it's just not true, and it's not enough. In Japan, they advocate 17 different portions of fruits and vegetables every day, and they have some of the oldest living people beyond the age of 100, and they live well as well. The reason our government tell us 5 portions every day is simply because they're trying to set something realistic, but it's not enough to live a long and healthy life. There's so many other things I could chuck at you for sake of time today, but I could say to you, for instance, let me grab a red bell pepper. And by the way, what is juicing? You're probably thinking, well, what is juicing? I've got a blender at home and I made a juice in my blender. I would say, no, actually, that's wrong. You made a blend or a smoothie in your blender. Most people don't know the simple difference between a little blender like this, a NutriBullet or an upright blender, and a juicer like this. This is actually what's known as a fast juicer, and you have something called a cold press juicer. If you've been to something like Joe and the Juice, Boost Juice, they use something called a fast juicer, which means it's going to oxidize quickly. You want to be getting cold press juices, that's something that we offer. And juicing is extracting the juice that's contained within the fibres of ginger, beetroot, red bell pepper, apple, because it's only the juice that's contained within the fibres of a fruit and vegetable that actually feed your body. Because people will always come and say to me, they say, well, what about all the fibre, Luke? You're going to be losing all that fibre when you juice this. And I would say to them, there's 2 types of fibre. Soluble fibre, pectin, and insoluble fibre. You only need about 30 grams of fibre every single day to help flush things through, etc. And then you say, well, okay, that's great, Luke, but what about the sugar content? And I'll give you an example, because people say that, juicing gets a bad name because carton apple juice. Carton apple juice is not what I'd be making in a juice machine. But if I said to you, look, say you're fancying a donut or something sweet like a cake, whatever, and I said to you, look, have this apple first, and in 10 minutes later, come back to me and say how you're feeling. I can assure you that 10 minutes later, you would still want that donut. Why? Because it's a different type of sugar. Naturally occurring fructose versus white refined table sugar in sucrose. I'll give you another example. Say you saw an overweight man or woman walking down the street. Say this with me right now and I was looking at them. I wouldn't be thinking, I know what it is. It's all that carrot juice, isn't it? All that sugar in that carrot juice, that's what's clearly done it. It's not. When you follow a well-designed juice or blend or smoothie plan, you'll find that actually the sugar is not what you think. And you say, well, what about all the protein? Like, where am I going to get my protein from if I'm having a juice a day as my breakfast? Well, there's a reason why Popeye had spinach. Spinach rich in amino acids like kale, like lettuce, all your greens. You've never heard of an animal in the wild suffering from a protein deficiency. Some of the largest land animals, giraffes, rhinos, don't suffer from not just the protein deficiency, but some of the disease that we suffer from in this world. Think about it. People say to me, well, what about cats and dogs? Well, we feed them. Anything else in the wild don't struggle from some of the diseases we struggle from, cancers, obesity, all this sort of stuff. Don't know if that's cut out.
Is it run out of juice?
I'll continue anyway. Think about it like this. We're the only species on planet Earth that cook our food. I often say, you might have seen the picture, you don't see a gorilla with a barbecue. So we want to be getting raw food in every single day. Going into the winter months, that's what's going to combat. We were in a lockdown for a long time because of a virus. And I'm not making any claims here, but I'm saying they help. Ginger, turmeric to combat, boost your immune system to combat colds, flus, sore throats, COVID in the wintertime. And if you want to be at peak performance, if you look at any high performer, any role model of yours, they operate from peak performance. And normally it's because they follow not strict, but they follow some sort of nutritional plan and they're getting what they need. You want to be getting it in raw form, not just the powders and the pills and things like that. Whilst I'm waiting for the slides, I'll keep going. Third part of this system, this is very important. I once heard a quote. You need to stay committed to your goals, but flexible in your approach. Flexibility or balance is key when it comes to your diet. Because let me ask a question. Do diets work? No. They're not sustainable. Juice diet, whatever diet you followed, you realise in the end they don't work. You want to have something that's a lifestyle, not a diet. I'll touch upon that point next, but think about it. If you're someone who's so rigid and you say, you know what, I'm going to get into this juicing, I'm going to do a week on juice, so I'm going to have a juice every day. What's going to happen? You're going to have a party, a function, a wedding. And are you really going to be that person who, for example, say you went to a little kid's party and you're a parent, and a little kid come up to you and said, I baked you a little chocolate cake, and you say, sorry kid, I'm on a juice diet. You don't want to be that person. That's what. Fourth part of this system, I want you to write the word freedom. Most people operate from something what I call diet mentality. And diet mentality says, I want it, but I can't have it. Because you restrict yourself, you deprive yourself. And what ends up happening, you end up having whatever it is your guilty pleasure. Chocolate, for example, probably the number one thing out there. What you want to do is get yourself to a place over here where you're what I call part of a freedom mentality, no longer the diet mentality. And the freedom mentality says, I can have it, but I don't want it. And how is that possible? This won't happen overnight. When you replace those deficiencies, people are often hungry and they snack and do these sort of things because they're not getting A to Z, all the vitamins and minerals they need. And if you have a little shot every day, a juice a day, you can make it yourself, you can come to us. You're going to find, actually, you'll look at these things and say, you know what? Because let's be honest, we're conditioned. If I said to you, have a break, have a Kit Kat, we're conditioned by the media, by advertisements, to grab that snack. And I've done it too, still to this day, but so much less than I was. And the most important part, if you've seen Star Wars, you might know what I'm about to say. Everything I've just said is irrelevant if you don't apply this last principle. In the world of self-help or personal development, those that get it right, they realise that you have to do this. You have to take action. You have to follow through. And that can be as small as you want. If you walk out through that door after this, and you say, I'm going to drink an extra glass of water in the morning. I'm going to have an apple a day. I'm going to buy myself a little ginger shot. I'm going to seek out Luke's advice and get some more advice. Then you've done the one thing which most people don't do, as I'm sure you're aware. And that's why you're business owners and not an employee, for example. So I know you know this to be true, but are you doing it with your health? So there's the 5 keys. I do delve into them much further when I do virtual events, in-person events myself, as to give you a quick overview and hopefully some distinctions to make you think differently. So hopefully that tomorrow you think, you know what, I'm going to take action. Something struck a chord there, because that's what happened to me. So like I said, we do anything from beetroot shots. Beetroot, high in nitrate, it's going to bring the blood pressure down. Spirulina, rich in amino acids. If you work out a lot, it's going to help you stop aching after workouts, things like that. It's a natural fat burner ginger, active compound in ginger rolls. Now, if you're anything like me, and there'll be some people out there who want to take this up further and delve into this subject further, I've got a whole host of newsletters ranging back all the way to last year. I talk about so many different things. I've travelled the world, like I said, and learnt so much, and I've packed that into so many different newsletters. So if you want to learn more about it, obviously you've got the one here today, the summer one, but if you want more, you can contact us. I am going to put a QR code up. All I ask is if instead of just putting your email in the comment box, you put your number, that way we can reach out to you, send you the e-version of these newsletters as well. I do just have to say a public thank you, because I don't take this day for granted, this opportunity for granted. I've never said this publicly like this, but I have to say a massive thank you for David, because I would not be standing here without David's help. And one of the most important things in business and life is having the right mentors who are there through thick and thin. And like I said, I wouldn't have not just had the opportunity to do this today, but the confidence to get up and do it. And it means the world to me. It means the world for me, to you to be listening. And all I hope that from this talk is that you go away and you change your life in some sort of way. You come along to the stall, say hi, you try some juice, and I did my job, and that's what it's all about. So I'd like to leave you with this. There was a guy in the streets of London once, and he was walking around, and actually they were doing a documentary on something, and they came to this guy and they said, like, what's your secret? You look so well. And he said, well, let me tell you this, something my mum always told me. She said to me, never eat junk food. And that's my secret. And he said, but how can you do that? Because you could see a bucket of KFC in the bin and you should be taking that just to survive. And he said, no, because I realised something a very long time ago. And this kind of encompasses everything I've said today. He said, if you don't look after your body, you'll have nowhere to live. I want to thank you for listening today. I'm going to put up a QR code. Any questions you have for me, I'm here for it now in the room. If you want to follow me on social media, on my business page, me personally, have any questions, sometimes questions come to you afterwards. I thank you for listening and thank you.
Loads of great nuggets to take away from there about getting healthier, fitter, but mind and body as well. That picture, by the way, Luke showed, that was, can you tell I've got a lot greyer since then? We've both matured a little bit as well, Luke. We're going to do some questions, and if anyone's got a burning question, shout out now and we'll run a mic out to you.
I'm not going to throw it.
Because it went wrong this morning.
Yeah, I've got a good question. So, what are your, what would you call it?
Little shots, yeah? Or the juices,
shots. How many fruits are in there? Like, what is actually inside them?
Yeah, so when it comes to the little super shots, they're comprised of 3 ingredients. So take a ginger shot. It's a little bit of ginger root, not the powder, the fresh stuff. We juice it with the skin on, because something I didn't say in the talk actually, that 90 to 95% of the nutrition of any fruit and vegetable is contained within the skin or just beneath it. So when you're blending something or cooking something, we tend to peel carrots and potatoes. But a juice machine has a way of separating it while still getting them just beneath that surface. So for example, a bit of ginger, a bit of golden delicious apple for sweetness, and then also a little bit of lemon. And we juice that with the pith on, so you get that benefit. Something I didn't say in the talk actually, that you want to be getting 80% vegetable, 20% fruit. Most people get it the other way around. They have so much fruit, too much sugar, even if it is naturally occurring sugar. And when it comes to the little juices like these ones here, we do 5 different flavours, the green boost for example. The whole idea of that is, our motto as a business is nutrition and taste. So many businesses out there focus on one or the other. It tastes really good, but it's loaded in additives and artificial things and sugars. Or it's really big on the nutrition, but it tastes horrible and you wouldn't want to drink it again, and you don't develop a habit. So for example, apple, lime, celery, cucumber, spinach, 5 to 10 different portions in every bottle, so you don't have to worry about it. I say it's the best health insurance you can ever get by having a shot on the juice a day.
I've got kind of 2 points to it. So
Yeah.
The first is, if you want to do this at home, what's the advice you'd give in terms of buying one of these? How much does it cost, and is there a recommended like entry-level juicer?
Yeah.
And the second part is like, if you're doing it in terms of like how long they'd last.
Yeah.
So like, I guess you don't put like preservatives
No.
in it and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
if we were like to batch stuff at home,
Of course.
would you like go? Would you go a week at a time or
Yeah.
something like that?
So first of all, I have these pieces of equipment out in front of me today because I want to say you can do it yourself. You can get a cheap little fast juicer, something like this in the range, maybe 30, 40, 50 pounds. You can get some better ones for maybe 100, 200 quid. That's a fast juicer. You want to have a blender as well because there's certain things you can't put in a juicer. You can't put an avocado in a juicer, it's too much of a complex fat. You can't put a banana in because it's a complex carbohydrate. But anything else can go into the juicer. But you want to blend because you want to get your macronutrients. A little magic bullet like this, NutriBullet, again, 50 to 100 quid. You might get them cheaper on eBay, Facebook, an old friend, whatever. But it is messy, it is time consuming. If you were going to batch them, the juices that we make in a cold press juicer last 5 to 7 days in the fridge. But we actually freeze them, so you'll get your juices delivered frozen and you defrost it in the fridge overnight and then they're good for up to 7 days. But you can't do that in a fast juicer because it doesn't freeze well. Bacteria is basically stored in the juice. So you want to be getting yourself a little cold press juicer, 300, 400, 500 pound. A Nama juicer is good, probably one I'd use. Sage juicer also very good as well.
Great answer. Luke, you've got some of these here, up here today. You've got some of these with you.
Yes.
So is there opportunity for those that are stuck around for the afternoon?
So first of all, I was going to say this, yeah.
A little try or a taster.
So everything we've got up there, I just had a few handful there. For the action takers, if you want to come and grab one at some point, I'm going to leave them there. You can take whatever you want from there. If you want to try some more, come and talk to me and get some more advice. Come to our room, try some, get a different newsletter, ask me a question or two you didn't want to ask right now. But yeah, everything that's up there, feel free to take a juice or a shot. Up to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.